Alright, so here we are with the third video for the daily event that took place on Sunday. Going into this round, I'm 1-1. I beat a non-traditional deck, I guess is the best way to put it, in round 1. And in round 2, I lost to red deck wins. So I had higher hopes for this tournament, but let's see what's going on. So, lost a die roll. Don't know what he's playing until he or she drops a Mystic Monastery, so I know it's some kind of Jeskai deck. Let's take a look at what I kept. So, I kept a hand that looked like this. Don't mind the Opulent Palace. So I had a Temple of Malady, a Llanowar Waste, and an Opulent Palace. So I also had 2 Bile Blights, a Murderous Cut, Ugin, and Kiora. So here's my thinking. I got a Temple of Malady so I can scry into stuff if I need it. Plus I got the Llanowar Waste. So if he starts off somewhat aggressively, I can at least turn to Bile Blight some stuff away. Gives me 2 Bile Blights, so it gives me some options. The Murderous Cut at the moment isn't relevant. But draw into a fetch land or draw into more lands, the cut becomes active because potentially I'll have 2 blights in the yard. So this is a draw that is dependent on having more lands, because I do need more lands to turn on stuff like Kiora, like Murderous Cut, and then Ugin's way out many turns from now, but still. So the draw, I'm very lucky I draw an Opulent Palace. So I lead off with the Temple of Malady. Scry the card to the bottom. I believe it was a Disdainful Stroke. So let's just step through my turn here. So I see another Mystic Monastery, which is good for me. It means he doesn't have any turn 1 or turn 2 plays. Also means I can drop something like an Opulent Palace and not have to worry too much about what he's played. I've also been fortunate enough to draw another Opulent Palace. So next turn I can go and I can play my Opulent Palace, not have to worry about not being able to cast a Bile Blight if necessary. Because in this build, I don't know if he's running the version that runs stuff like Mantis Rider, or if he's on the more token strategy. So there's Soulfire Grandmaster. Grandmaster Flash, as I like to call him. So I get a Hero's Downfall. No rush for it. So now I see he's stuck on lands. So I decide to Bile Blight, whatever he's got out. Just kind of leave him in a bad spot. So here I draw the Thoughtseize, so I figure I'll Thoughtseize. And what I see is Chandra, a Dig, 2 Disdainful Strokes, Jeskai Charm, Mantis Rider, and Prognostic Sphinx. So here's what's going through my head. The Dig through time is many turns off. The 2 that I'm really thinking of at this moment is Chandra and Mantis Rider, potentially Prognostic Sphinx. So here's the thing behind it. Now I know he's not playing the token strategy. Now I know he's playing the tempo strategy. If he ends up drawing a land, Mantis Rider is really, really good. I know that Chandra is quite good. However, I've got a Hero's Downfall for that. I've also got a Bile Blight for the Mantis Rider. So I end up taking the Mantis Rider. I really think I should have been taking the Disdainful Strokes, because that allows me to get out stuff like Kiora and Ugin and those kinds of spells. So I ended up taking the Mantis Rider, which in retrospect probably wasn't the best of ideas. But the takeaway is I gotta think a few turns ahead, plus I have to evaluate that based on what I have in my hand. I'm not saying that I didn't do that, it's just that line of play didn't really lend itself to that. So, I know he's got the disdainful stroke, so I'm holding back on the Kiora. And again, he misses a land drop. Oh, and is MTGO going to crash on me? No. So I grab a Swamp, and I grab another Thoughtseize. So here's my opportunity to rectify a mistake. So he's drawn a Soulfire Grandmaster. I'm not too concerned about the Grandmaster. It's Pyromaster that at this point I'm thinking of taking. I should have rectified my mistake, and I should have grabbed one of the disdainful strokes, but I didn't. So he left a card on top of his library. Left that on top. I want to be able to sculpt draws. And I'm content playing a little bit of a waiting game. Right now, what I draw is going to, all my removal gets under his counter magic. I know he's still got the same cards in hand because of Temple Triumph and Temple of Epiphany. And he has no idea what's in my hand. So there's a Kiora. I think I ship the Kiora to... I can't remember what I do with the Kiora. Oh, put it on top. That's right. I keep it on top so that I can run Kiora 1, Kiora 2 out, and then I still got Ugin. So I finally decide to pull the trigger on Kiora. And my decision here is to draw an extra card. See if I can get the extra land. So obviously that was a card I didn't know about. So I know he still has 2 disdainful strokes. And he's just sitting there accumulating mana. So I do my first dig, knowing that gets disdainful stroke. And that was partly a bait spell. Again, another minus on Kiora just to start getting ahead of him in cards. He casts Dig. I counter it. There's a Prognostic Sphinx. He's got 3 cards in hand. I decide to go after Ugin. So I know he's got a Soulfire Grandmaster. And here, this was... letting keep Prognostic Sphinx. That is something that probably was a bit of a mistake. I mean, I cut him and I downfalled the Sphinx. It ends up costing him a card too. But here's my attempt at getting some pressure on him. So he ends up resolving this dig. And down comes Rabblemaster. Let him hit me with that because I want to save the Wayfinder back in the event I have to block, and I draw Sultai Charm Witch. Draw and discard, and play the Crux of Fate. Now we're both at one card in hand. Obviously, he hasn't drawn anything of consequence. Wayfinder goes to the bottom because at this point there's not a lot of use for him. I want more high impact cards. Still got Ashiok in here. I've got another Ugin, and I've got a Garruk to draw from. Speaking of whom. I lost Garruk. Cost him 2 cards to do it. And here, this is just it's either use it or lose it. Now he used it, and it ends up costing me 2 life. So there's Ashiok. And then I can run him off pretty unscathed, and I got a Mantis Rider. That's Stoke the Flames number 3. I guess I can get rid of this one. So now it's beat down for 1 at a time. The Disdainful Stroke isn't going to do much for me right now. You'd have to have some pretty epic draws. I have a feeling he's just sandbagging at the moment. There's an Ugin. So we try casting the Ugin. There's Elspeth, and of course Elspeth fights to dust. And the Mantis Rider, exits as quickly, exits as quickly as he enters. And yeah, that's game. So we'll go to game 2. And yes, I want to play first. So I keep this hand. So this hand isn't anything fancy except it's got that with cheap removal. So it's definitely a very keepable hand. So Bioblade stays on top. Bioblade's a very useful card. I mean, if he runs Hordeling Outburst, so I get to keep the Yavimaya Coast. As we saw there, I brought in Rakshasha Death Dealers for this matchup. So there's Soulfire Greymaster. Now, Greymaster Flash isn't going to stick around too long. So Pharika's cured him. Gain the 2 life. The 2 life is fairly relevant. One of the things this deck just has a hard time dealing with is, once it gets down to 4 life against any deck that has some semblance of red in it, that becomes problematic. Now again, he's missed land drops. For him to miss a land drop isn't as bad as it is for me to miss a land drop, which I can't remember if I do or not here. So I get the Temple of Mystery, which is nice, but I lose Drown Sorrow and Blight. So I keep the Swamp on top. And in comes a Mantis Rider. So in goes a Downfall, and in come 2 little Wayfinders. There's another Bioblight, so we're going to go into attacks. At this point, I'm thinking, hey, I might actually do something here with 2 Satyr Wayfinders. Because, I mean, if you take a look at where I'm sitting, okay, I'm not doing a whole hell of a lot. But I got a Downfall, I got 2 Blights. I'm also thinking now I really have to win fast. Here I Garrick. Yeah, kind of have to. Yeah, you have to run the big guy out. So he digs. There's his Mantis Rider. Mantis Rider gets his licks in. And I Bioblade it. He promptly uses it to stoke me. Which is okay. Taking another Ugin, a Temple, and a Hero's Downfall. And I leave that on top. This meets another Disdainful Stroke, which is okay given that I've got another Ugin in hand. I just cast 2 Stokes. This is fine by me because I still got Hero's Downfall and Bioblight. And in comes the little paper cut, the Wayfinder. Now here I think I've got a pretty good shot. Still. I've got a Crux, I've got a Kiora. He's already wasted 1, 2 or 2 Stokes, 3 Stokes, a Lightning Strike, and 1, 2 Disdainful Strokes and a Negate. So, you know, it's not a bad spot to be in. And he's effectively playing off the top of his deck. And off the top of his deck, he pulls a Mantis Rider. Knocks me down to 1. And Lightning Strike finishes me off. So round 3 didn't go the way I wanted to, so I'll come back in the next video and we'll go into round 4.